Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Game Design Cuppa. How's everyone doing today? This morning, it is it's still actually snowing quite a bit here in Prague, which is quite nice, and it's kind of cold enough to stay on the ground, which isn't always the case. So that's quite nice. Morning, Zate. How you going? Morning. So it's been a pretty relaxed morning so far. Been doing a little bit of accounting, which is always fun, I guess. Part of the point of, well, not the point, part of the lot of a game designer is to deal with also many different bank accounts. I seem to be working with lots of different currencies. Morning, Rob. How are you going? Oh, you've been to the dentist in another town. A big adventure. Wow. Gosh, can't. Hi, Dakota. How you going? Welcome. Yeah, I can't imagine. Morning, Rory. Morning, everyone. Yeah, we're all sort of like bleary-eyed, waking up, all this sort of thing. I've already had time to lose a game of Akaya to Terezi, so that's always fun. Yes, Rob is living the dream. Well, I would take the going to another town bit over the dentist, but actually, I don't know if you can even. No, I guess dentists are open here in the Czech Republic. I'm not sure, but I know in Australia dentists were closed for some time with all the restrictions and things. Someone make coffee? Yep, sure. I can't help you there. There's no coffee in this house, but hopefully someone else will make some coffee for Sid. Waking up requires sleeping first. Well, I mean, if that's your style, well done, or commiserations, I guess, if that's not your intention. I am a pretty regular sleeper, thankfully. The dentist in your building isn't open. Oh, I see. Okay, like down, like in an apartment building or something. Yeah. I'm pretty sure they're open in the Czech Republic, although I have to admit I don't exactly know. Now it's just reminding me that I should go to the dentist sometime. It's been quite a while. Thanks, everyone. Great start to the game design cover. Anyway, but I hope everyone's well. I hope you're all well, or as best as you can be, and settle back with a warm cup of tea or coffee or Bonox. I know my parents would always say Bonox, but I think, what is Bonox? It's some sort of like beef, like beef kind of stew. Oh, okay. So Bonox is a thing from Australia. It was a beef extract, so you could make some sort of like hot beefy drink or something. Design a game about pandemic dentistry. I'm pretty open to any kind of game jam, but I worry that it might not be that interesting, I think, but we'll see. What was I going to find? I was going to find some might have seen me on there's a stream yesterday, which was a bit of fun. It's been a lot of streaming, actually. I was just thinking, since Friday, with exception of one day, I've streamed every day, because I did a Luck Be a Landlord stream on Saturday, and it might be a bit much for me. So I'm gonna have to sort of think about going forward about how much I actually want to be streaming. But But I just wanted to quickly, I mean, just as a way to start, I mentioned in another stream, or maybe I mentioned on Monday and somebody put it up, that of Matteo Menapace, who's a really fantastic Italian designer, working with Matt Laycock on a new game about climate crisis. And I'm just finding, he wrote some really great, really great articles on Medium about the sort of the process of, like sort of how he got, how he even like got in touch with Matt Laycock, and then how they sort of started working together, and how do you make a game about climate change, about climate crisis? How do you, where do you start with? What's important? I'd really recommend checking it out. And there's actually several different articles. One's about the sort of the origin story of the game, or like how it start. If they're looking for sort of play testers and things, or people with looking at some choices behind the design. And there's like an overview about how the game works. So yeah, would recommend. It's kind of cool read. Uh, Rob, you're really living the dream. Oh, I see, because you have a bagel. A bagel, is that a very common British sort of? I can't remember ever seeing a bagel when I was in England. But I mean, I'm sure I saw it at some point, but I don't think I ever saw someone eating for breakfast. So yeah. Rob is far ahead of us poor plebs. I just had some sort of muesli. Yeah. Morning, David. Morning, Nicola. Oh, great. It's nice to have. Yeah, well, thanks everyone for joining. I hope, as I was saying, I hope everyone's well. Yeah, so I'm just sort of, this is sort of a chance to have a bit of a more relaxed stream. I think the last, I mean, the other streams would be nice, but it's just nice to kind of chat and hang out with cool people. So everyone in Wantage eats bagels all the time. It's the way we roll. I see. Oh, you're in Wantage. Oh, I mean, I should have known that, right? Because I knew you worked at like in the other runs at Appleton Labs, I guess. But yeah, I know a lot of people who live in Wantage from the Diamond Light Source. So it loves bagels, but Germany doesn't really do them. No, that's a pity though, because I mean, do you like the German bread? Because I mean, that's obviously a sort of a local national specialty that you can't get anywhere else. I remember in Australia when I would be going to work very early, I would always, for 1 year I was working and I had to go through this sort of shopping center on my way to work every morning. And there was one of these German bakeries, like, I think it was a chain. I don't know how authentic it really was, but I think it was reasonably authentic. And you would have like a very strong, distinctive sort of, I don't know why the bread smells sort of different, but yeah, every morning about 7:30, which would be about the time I'd be going to work, I'd get this like, full like hit of, German bread smell. Yes. Sorry, Rob. No. Well, I've already played one. I've actually already played one run of Luck Be a Landlord this morning. So yeah, I came up with a new chat. Yeah, I was chatting about the new challenge that I've been trying, which has been which has been a bit of fun. But yeah, I am realizing I need to slow down on the Luck Be a Landlord probably. But yeah, so. Yeah, and I was saying I was doing a little bit of counting, dealing with lots of different bank accounts in different countries, because of course this game is only get paid in lots of different currencies. So I'm trying to use TransferWise mostly for a lot of things, but with US payments, it's actually turning out to be a real pain in the behind, because they changed their details and certain companies can't pay to it, and yeah. A lot of fun, but that's the kind of the I'm sure, yeah, this is not limited to game design. I guess it's normal freelancers, but maybe freelancers aren't used to getting payments from all around the world in lots of different currencies. So yeah, I don't want to think about having. I'd be an excellent probably spy or someone in exile or something. I have lots of different bank accounts in at least 4 different countries or something. So that might be useful. So doesn't mind German bread, I guess, but I don't love it. I don't drink beer. I don't eat pork. Yes, I chose the wrong place to live. Well, yeah, come over to the Czech Republic then. I don't know if it's going to be much better. I'm trying to think. The bread's quite different. Beer is sort of similar, but you don't like beer. They have lots of duck. If you like duck, I'm not sure if you're. But actually in Prague we're quite lucky to have a lot of a really good range of like sort of like cuisine from all around the world. I mean, obviously right now it's a little bit difficult, but yeah, it's not a bad place. And other things, I was playing a solo game by a friend here in Prague. I was sort of playtesting. He sent me some files and I sort of printed them out, which was sort of fun, and sort of chatting about that, and yeah, just sort of nice to get back into that sort of playtesting vibe, which is kind of cool. Sorry, is this real? I used to ride a homeless man I was friends with. I rode Boris under the bridge, S-Bahn, Zernschatze, Hamburg, Germany, and he got the letters. Really? Wow. Okay. Yeah, I feel like there's probably a really good story about like the postal service to unusual addresses, because yeah, it must happen around the world. It feels like it should be a 99% invisible podcast episode. Anyone who doesn't watch 99pi, I really recommend. It's fantastic. It sounds like a game idea. What postal service to homeless people? Yeah. Um, yeah, 99 PI is the bomb. Yeah, they were actually interesting. One of the most recent episodes, they do kind of near the end of the year. They do like little snippet episodes, or no, they do episodes which are like smaller ideas which don't fit into larger stories. And actually, in the most recent one, they were doing the composer for the show came on and talked about kind of music games, which is kind of interesting, and specifically the kind of like composing games. So games and even quite far back, like in the 17th and 18th century, composers would make these games where they would essentially roll dice that would determine like what notes they would use, and they'd keep rolling dice, and they'd sort of like generate this piece sort of randomly. I mean, I don't know how much of a game it is. It's more sort of like random generation, but it was kind of interesting. So that was a recent like talking about sort of music and games, and there's some really like in terms of game side stuff. There's I remember way back there was one about the rules of basketball, which I'm not a huge basketball fan, but it was sort of about the development of the rules and how like they made certain changes to the rules and what that kind of how that affected things. And I thought it was interesting because there was a lot of analogies to sort of playtesting and trying things out and what do rules do, and how do you design for a particular behavior and things like that. Yeah, it was quite interesting actually. So yeah, would certainly recommend. Roll and compose. I feel like there probably could be a good roll and write music based game. I mean, obviously it would be quite niche, but I feel like there probably could be. I can't remember, somebody was writing something about on Twitter about trying to do a roll and write game where you would be like rolling and then putting notes on a stave, and whether you would kind of do it in a very kind of abstract way so that people don't understand music, because sort of like it's more about pattern building. But it could be a nice kind of like basis for a roll and write game, certainly. It could look really nice, I think. Bach's second roguelike concerto, yes. Yeah, so that's always been a bit of fun. And today I'm trying. Well, I'm not really preparing, I guess. Maybe I should prepare. I have this meeting with Hasbro with Teo Rivera. So that's this afternoon. So we should probably chat to Teo sometime today and make sure that we're on the same page. Teo's doing a lot of the work in terms of preparing. I mean, it's sort of a bit weird. It's a bit different. I'm going to learn a lot. I've never done this, because my understanding actually is that because of the way Hasbro works, and there's a lot of, you have to sign lots of things whenever you're going to pitch to Hasbro. And basically, they're not exactly NDAs. They're more like basically saying that you like waive any right to sort of like sue Hasbro if they end up making a game that's similar to anything that you show them, just simply because they can't control that and they don't want to. So you just have to basically say that you're okay with that, but it means that you can't even tell them anything about what you want to pitch before you sign that agreement and before you have the meeting. So we're having this meeting with this person not knowing anything about what we want to show them, which is sort of a bit different. And also, even what we're pitching is more of a concept than a working prototype. So it's a very different process. I haven't done it before. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'll try and report back what I can if anyone's interested. Rory says, roll and punch out of a music box sheet, then crank it through the machine again. That would be quite, that could be cool. Would require a music box, but that would be a very cool product. I have no idea how reproducible the kind of like punching things out. But no, thanks very much, Nicola. Well, we'll see how it goes. It's one of those funny things that, again, that's the difference about virtual pitching and all these sort of things, is that when you go to a convention, you're kind of in like the pitching zone for like 4 or 5 days, because that's what you're there to do and that's all you're doing. When you're pitching in the middle of the day, it's sort of like, I'm just answering some emails, just doing a bit of streaming. Then I'm pitching to someone, so you have to kind of like switch things. Spectre won't be able to tell you much. I guess I probably won't be able to tell you much about what I'm pitching, but I can probably talk about the process. I don't think that itself is a secret. I suspect might not be that exciting. Who knows? My parents have a player piano, so I can play the punch rolls. Yeah, I think. Did we have something like that? At some point growing up, we had a piano. I had access to a piano, one of these like pianolas. Are they called pianolas? I think with the rolls. Also, one of those. I'm trying to think. Does one of a pianola might appear also somewhere in the adventure games? I think there's one in the. There might be a puzzle with that in the Grand Hotel Abaddon as a small spoiler, I guess. But yeah, and what's everyone else up to today? And any sort of fun game things or non-game things? I'm trying to think what else has been sort of happening in the board game news. I saw there's a new company with Isaac Vega and another person. What is it? Rose Thorn Games or something. So they got a new. It's just interesting always to see these new studios kind of popping up. Rose Gauntlet Entertainment, which is sort of interesting. Like this is the. I mean, it looks beautiful. Like this new game, and I expect it actually might be quite good in that. It seems like it's going to be like a kind of a strategic card game. Maybe not exactly like Wingspan, but in that kind of space, which I definitely am interested in. And like the art for some of their new games. And they're also doing actually they're going to do a roguelike deck building digital game, which of course I'm quite interested in considering the development that we're doing on card crawl adventures with Arnold at the moment. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah, what is this? It says it's a Gonta-Gaia roguelike adventure deck building card game. So yeah, definitely interested to what's going to happen there. So, but it's interesting, yeah, a studio that's set up to do both, both analog and digital games, which I think makes sense. I think there's a lot of space in the digital world now for like analog-like games. So it makes a lot of sense, I think. So yeah, that's kind of a cool bit of news that was nice to see. Saying change shirts before meeting something you feel businessy in. Clothing affects how we feel. Like, oh, that's an interesting point, actually. Yeah, yeah, that's probably a good point. I probably have to look slightly more presentable than I currently do. Yeah, I Theo has these morning streams as well. These like board game coffee kind of thing, and he has the most amazing. I mean, he has the most amazing wardrobe and dress sense anyway. But he has a great set of jumpers which he can have, where I don't have that great kind of range, unfortunately. David is playtesting today. Oh, good. Okay, cool. Rome and Roll expansion. Is that the one that's been announced, or is it another one? Or and then some what is it? Some XX, some erotic kind of game designs to play or something. Is that? I think it's cutting cards for a mathless version of the Flamingo game. Oh, great. Okay, so I'm glad that's going on. It's a game I saw Nicola showed me like at Nuremberg, sort of maybe Nuremberg a year ago. It's almost exactly a year since Nuremberg last year. Yeah. Dakota says a big stream that I'm going to be part of was semi-officially announced yesterday. So today is going to be planning for that training afternoon, and then maybe record some music. Oh, fantastic! Do you know? Can you say what the stream is or what it's called so we can check it out? Be very interested about that. Nice, give me some XX. So now there's going to be all this. People are going to be wondering what Twitch is going to take me down or something for inappropriate content with all this XXX talk in the chat. Gosh, people, gosh. Hear good things about Roma and Roll. Yeah, I haven't tried it. I'd certainly be interested to try it. There's also the Hadrian's Wall. It's sort of funny. All the heavy roll and writes have to be Roman themed for some reason. So I'd quite like to try both of them, and sort of interested in how they. Because I guess the thing is like, yeah, they seem very complex, but it's like, do you want to be doing this complex, mostly solitaire thing? I mean, a lot of roll and writes are quite solitaire, but it doesn't matter because, I mean, the game's pretty quick and it's fairly straightforward. So. Yeah, I'm also interested in. Yeah, I'm going to keep working on the Habitats game. I think maybe on Friday again. Maybe Fridays will become sort of a normal work on games stream. That might be a nice way to kind of like mix between the Mondays and the Fridays. I've enjoyed working on it actually, and it's nice. I was also wondering that the stream might be a good, not excuse, but like give me a reason to work on something. Like if there's a particular project I've been putting off, I can say I'll do it on stream. It'll make sure I'll do it. As I said, I do want to be playing complex multiplayer solitaire. That's exactly what I like in games. Well then, yeah, I mean, and I know that there's definitely an audience for that. So I think checking out these games is good. David says Roman Roll is hugely interactive. He says only ever played it solo. I mean, you're interactive. Oh gosh. Yes. Well, I'm sure the Audimer is very interactive, I guess. But yeah, no, I have to check it out. Maybe I'll have to have David Turtsey if he's interested in coming on the stream sometime and chatting generally. Could be a fun kind of stream. I still would like to have some people on the stream to have some interviews or something like that, but I feel just a bit I haven't quite got over the hurdle of just sort of organizing the stream a bit more. Right now I'm sort of doing it very by the seat of my pants, very casually, but I'd like to at some point make a bit more effort, I guess. Okay, so Dakota, so the Tabletop Live Network, which has been doing 12-hour, now 24-hour streams of a bunch of board games folks. Yeah, I think was Ross part of this at some point? I'm doing a Valentine's Day stream with only women and non-binary board game streamers. It's on February 14th. I'm going to be on at 3 p.m. Eastern, which is like 9 p.m. GMT. Yeah, that sounds about right. Oh, cool. Okay, great. I will. Yeah, I'll check that out. Fantastic. And we can follow, if we follow your channel, your channel, then that will kind of work, I guess. Fantastic. Okay, there's a lot of interest in having David on, so maybe I'll Turtsy chatting. He hates to talk. Yes, I am. I do have a cuppa. It's just a bit hot. I need to make it a little bit more like ahead of time, so it has time to cool down. Okay, no, I'll definitely will. I'll definitely check it out, Dakota. No, thanks for the heads up. Yeah, and everyone follow Dakota. Let's find Dakota's channel, or I mean, if Sate or someone or Rob to give a shout out to Dakota in the chat, that would be great. I actually might not be following you, Dakota, so that is my bad. But I will sort that out. I'm still, yeah, still a bit of a noob at all this sort of stuff. No, I don't think that works, Rob. Sorry, I don't have Streamlabs or anything. If anyone finds the link, that would be great. Oh yes, talking about multiplayer. So I think we were coming out at the times when multiplayer solitaire is put down. People are admitting that a lot of folk actually like it and feature not bug. Yeah, actually, I'm working on a game. The game we're working on, the game I'm working on with Mandela at the moment. It's sort of like a dice-based Euro game, and it's quite fun. Thanks very much for that, Sade. No, it's absolute pleasure, Dakota. I mean, I'm pretty new to it as well. I haven't been doing it for very long, and I know I was really grateful to, like, a lot of people are really friendly, I find. So yeah, no, great. Everyone go and follow Dakota now, if you can. That'd be great. Yeah, so the game I'm working on with Mandela, and one of the things we have the issue with the game, or that we're kind of realizing, is that there's just a lot of downtime, and we're considering, I think, trying to move towards a way that you could play some parts of the game simultaneously, because you are kind of working on your own little machine kind of thing, and there's a little bit of interaction in terms of there's some goals, and there are some things that you're kind of taking, and you might take them before other players and things like that. But one of the ways to try to make it a bit quicker is to try and do things simultaneously. But of course, then you get to the point where, yeah, it's a bit more like multiplayer solitaire because you can't interact all the time. But yeah, I think something we realized with something like Chocolate Factory, for example, that there is a huge audience of people who like, well, what is coined multiplayer solitaire, or that they're happy to work on their own kind of engines and not worry about what other people are doing. And yeah, it's a really, well, it's absolutely legitimate way to enjoy your games, and there is a lot of people who enjoy games like that, so it's definitely worth doing. Yeah, so no, it's definitely a good point. Yes, exactly, and yeah, having your plans messed with. Yeah, and I think that is, even people who wouldn't consider games to be multiplayer solitaire, they certainly limit those ways to kind of like screw with what other people are doing. Yeah, which is fair enough. Rory was saying, I'm keen for Set Sail, name change and coming to be fully multiplayer solitaire. It makes video chat gaming so much slicker. No, that's true. And there's I mean, yeah, I think there's a lot of like really great roll and write games. For example, like Metro X is essentially multiplayer. So there's a little bit of a race element, but you can't really interact. It just changes things a little bit. So yeah, absolutely. And I think this Habitat kind of roll and write, whatever. I need to come up with a different name. I know I can't call it Habitat anymore, but yeah, I think that will mostly be the same. And I think that's great. Hopefully, yeah, we'll see how it goes. I need to write down something. I just saw something flash up, and I need to not forget to do it at the end of the stream. Yeah, good. Okay. Yeah, but it goes back a long way. I don't think I know what that is. Oh, okay. No worries. I was like, interesting. So yeah, I will try and get David Tutsi on the channel then, and we can have a bit of a chat, or I can interview him about something. I feel like he's been interviewed a lot of times about various things, so I don't want to necessarily just replicate things, but or maybe we could do, we could game jam live or something like that. I don't know how it would go. Good morning, Bess. Good morning. How are you going? Welcome. We're just chilling. It's a very chill stream. Not too much going on. Not too much to have to keep up with. So yeah, settle back in a comfortable chair, or if you're at work or whatever, and just enjoy the soothing sounds of my voice as I ramble on. Yeah, take it easy is classic multiplayer solitaire. True. I mean, it's arguably not. Am I not remembering Take It Easy? Sorry, Take It Easy. I don't know why I was thinking of what's the Sid Saxon whatever this. Anyway, I had it wrong. But yes, you're right. Take It Easy is essentially multiplayer solitaire. I think that multiplayer solitaire works really well, but the mechanics have to be right. I don't like Search for Planet X as much as I thought it was, because for a deduction game, there's not enough player interaction. Yes, I mean, I guess from what I've read of Search for Planet X, it looks closer and closer to, essentially an interesting solo deduction problem, and that's great. I personally really like puzzles, and those kind of like where you have those logic grids, you'd have like 5 different characteristics, and you need to work out what the combinations are, and I love numerical logic sort of puzzles and things like that. I saw actually kind of a slightly. So I'm not sure if anyone saw, but Jeffrey Allers, who is an American game designer but lives in Germany. I'm just trying to find his post actually. Just posted recently that he has a new game coming out called Hashi from NSV, which looks like this, and it's actually based on a well-known numerical logic puzzle called Hashi, which is the same thing. And I thought I'm super interested because I really like Hashi, the puzzle. So this as a roll and write thing, I'm super interested and really looking forward to actually getting a copy. I think it should be available quite soon, maybe in a few weeks or something like that. And actually, I replied to this thread saying, I love logic puzzles, and it's a really cool idea. And actually, Jeffrey reached out to me after this and said that he had a few ideas for some other games around logic puzzles, and was I interested in collaborating. So we're going to try and work together on some new games around logic puzzles, which I think is super cool. I'm super into. It's one thing I do quite a bit. Yeah, it's sort of a bit strange. I have maybe my whole life is too much about games, because even my like non-board game designing hobbies are still like puzzles and things. So I'm not exactly escaping the mold too much, but that was really cool, and it was really nice of him to reach out, and so we might be collaborating on some things in the future. So actually, I should reply to Jeffrey today. So that's also quite cool. Say not that I prefer Tercy to any of you, my designer Twitch friends, but yes, he's currently my favorite game designer. No, absolutely, fair enough. I mean, hats off to David, because I think there's something about, like, I think I've talked a little bit about like your brand as a designer before, and I think David is one of the really good examples of making a really strong brand, and part of that is like sort of consistency and knowing who your audience is, and ultimately the best thing is to have a lot of people who love your games, and maybe a lot of people who hate them, but it means that you're really reaching a specific audience who really like the games. And I think actually might be an interesting thing to chat to David about. I think, which is really, I've often talked myself. It's a bit hard, like I find it a bit harder to have a brand because I make games of really a wide range of difficulties and audiences and things like that. So you don't build up a sense of an audience. Like if you like one of my games, you won't necessarily like another one of my games. But David is very good at doing that, certainly. Yeah. Then Zaid says, to be fair, I haven't played any of the games any of my Twitch friends have made aside from the Game Jam ones. Definitely need to catch up with some of yours again. Yeah, I mean, there's only so many games that you can get, and there's always more coming out. Yeah, we have. I don't know what's my next one coming out. I think this Spy Connection from Pegasus should come out in the next few months. I hope. I think it's either being manufactured or so it should be coming like late Q1, early Q2 or something like that. So it looks like it'll be a good year, although it's as we all know, who knows what's going to happen with conventions and releases and things like that. So don't know what's going to be happening with all of that. Yeah, but what else has other people been playing? I haven't played any other games. We didn't play much more Carpe Diem. I'm trying to check my. No, it's just I look at my my board game app, of players. It's like Carpe Diem, Carpe Diem, Carpe Diem, Carpe Diem. Been getting back a bit more into Santa Monica as well. The AEG sort of like tableau card building game from Josh Wood, which is really really lovely. I mean, the art's fantastic, and it's still exactly the kind of game I enjoy. This sort of like very snappy 30-minute. Lots of variety in the cards. You're only going to see a small amount of them each game, but not so many rules, and a nice bit of interesting interaction in terms of how you choose the cards. But yeah, just everything very clean and it looks lovely, and yeah, it's really a game for me actually, and a really nice kind of breakfast game. So we were playing that a little bit more. Things. Yeah, so that's been fun. But yes, I need to sort of get back to doing some playtesting. I now have some. I bought some new printer ink so I can print out some new prototypes, actually play them in real life, or with my partner at least. So I might be doing that. Roy says, I've been playing Mississippi Queen a fair bit. I wasn't familiar with the original, but I'm digging the reprint. I actually don't know Mississippi Queen. I mean, I know of it, but I don't think I've ever. If you ask me how it plays, I wouldn't know. Mississippi Queen. So this is Mississippi Queen. I don't know where the new edition is necessarily, because this must not be the new edition. But yeah. No, I will have to. I'm going to leave that tab open so I can have a look at it a little bit later. I think it's another listing on Board Game Geek. Okay. Maybe it's just literally a. Oh no, not the Black Rose, presumably. Oh, this one, I guess. Oh, okay. Oh, yes, the Super Meeple one. Oh, I see. Oh, very cool. That looks lovely. Yeah, very cool. No, I will definitely have to check it out. And David played Carnegie on Tabletop Simulator last night. Oh yes, that'd be quite interesting. Yeah, it's the new Quine game, right? Kind of Euro. I shall have to take a look. David says it's good, but I worried when I win by a significant margin just doing what felt obvious. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think. David, you're great about when you're sort of playtesting. It's your playtesting mind, I think, that you like sort of pushing strategies to their limit in different ways. I mean, I guess the hope is that actually maybe there are other strategies which are just as powerful, but they're not. I mean, there's always going to be a strategy that is easier or for whatever reason, kind of groks with you quicker than someone else. So yeah, the hope is that there are other things going on as well. And I'm sure, I mean, Quine has a pretty good reputation, and it's Xavier Georges, right? One of the designers of Trois. So yeah, I guess there's good hope that yeah, I'd like to check it out. I must admit it's something that I need to look at. John Gets Games did a video, and I like what John does, so I will have to check that out at some point. Say I could go for a round of Cuppa this week. Can you play it online? Is it on Board Game Arena or anything like that? I'm happy to play you sometime if it was available digitally. That would sort of be fun. Yes. Oh, so you haven't made any games that you've shown others? No, you made some. Oh, you made some L deck contests. Oh, great. Oh, cool. I mean, are you working on a lot of games, Zate? Is that sort of, you still, is that, I didn't know what your interests are as a designer or not, I guess. But it's great. I mean, you know, and I think starting anywhere, like there was, I retweeted some Ira Glass quote, which is just basically saying, we still need to play the crew, I know. But the quote basically says that, you know, as a creative, when you start out, there's sort of this gap between your taste or what you know is good and the things you can make, which when you start is a very far away from what you know is good. And the frustration is the difference in that. But just to get to bridge that gap, you just have to make more things, and eventually you get closer and closer and closer to that. So yeah, I think just making anything, and it's a great, in a way, it's a great time for, you know, that there are the, you know, like what Bess is doing with LDEC or the different like print and play competitions on BGG or doing various development work or solo playtesting or whatever. There's lots of different ways that you can kind of like hone that designer brain in small ways and sort of build up to that, which is really nice. David, coming back to Carnegie, my strategy was to score points. Wow, shock horror. It has some really interesting things going on and we all enjoyed it, but with space running out and real life games, a distant memory, my shopping has become very fussy. Yeah, I think I definitely, at the start of the pandemic, I splurged and actually bought quite a few games because I can play a lot with Treasy and I wanted to try a lot of things. But yeah, I have definitely slowed down as well. I still don't know, for example, whether I'm going to get Darwin's Journey, which in like concept, it should be something I really enjoy, I think. Although I've sort of talked before that, like for me, Newton by the same designers is kind of falling off quite quickly in terms of my enjoyment of it. And I'm not sure if Darwin's Journey is going to go the same way. And that's the difficulty with these games, actually, because, and maybe, I don't know, it's the games that are good for like 5 or 6 players, you know. So if I played it, you know, if I did what I normally do, which would be to try out a game at a game day or whatever, or you know, like on Tabletop Simulator somehow. And, you know, you play that first game, you're like, oh, wow, that's really cool. That's really interesting. And I could see all these different paths I could try, and I didn't do them. And that would be enough probably to make me to buy the game. But then what, you know, unfortunately, what I found with Newton, at least my personal experience, is that, you know, after sort of 4 to 5 plays and you've done each of those strategies, you realize actually there's not much beyond that to explore. There's always going to be an interesting puzzle in each game because there's going to be different goals, like a different mix of goals, and the different strategies will have different payouts essentially, or incentives to do them. But in terms of what you're doing, it doesn't change very much. And yeah, it's been a bit of a realization for me that these kind of like puzzle Euros, while I still do enjoy them, they need to have a lot of variability in those puzzle parts to keep interesting. And I think that's like Grand Austria Hotel because it has that huge customer deck and it has a really large like employee deck. So that combination is enough to kind of keep me interested. But when it's like much more set, like 3 or 4 parts that you kind of have to follow, it doesn't keep me interested enough, I guess. But your mileage may vary, of course. Zate is working on a few games, but I don't think I have the personality to be a game designer. I have ideas and I'm okay at that bit, but I don't have the confidence to push them forward. I'm more confident working on other people's games to improve them. I really enjoy playtesting and development. Yeah, I think you've described it perfectly. I mean, there's definitely different skill sets and kind of different mindsets needed for design versus development. And if you're much more suited to development, then I think that makes sense. And that's great because I'm absolutely strongly believe that all my games are made better with good developers. You know, I don't believe in, I would never want to develop my own games, for example, because I know that they would just be better with the input of somebody, a great developer. So yeah, I think it's like, in a way, it's a bit harder because there's not as many people talking about development necessarily, or you know, as a career sort of thing. It's a little bit harder to sort of work out, but I think it's just as valid and needed, certainly. So I think follow whatever you enjoy. I think that's the most important thing. Dakota, see, that's my problem and why I actively avoid designing games. I have 2 ideas that I've fleshed out and would love to make, but I just don't have time to get to the level where I feel comfortable executing them. Oh, was this the quote about the hourglass thing? Maybe. Yeah, I think, and that's why starting with smaller projects is easier. Realistically, that's the other thing. Like, make lots of stuff, but also making small things, especially with games. I was talking a bit about yesterday when we were talking about prototyping. When you're making the first prototype, or even the nice thing about a smaller game is it's just easier to hold in your head and to work, like, hold it all in your head and work out whether it's interesting or not. Whereas it's a lot harder with, you know, a bigger game. I can't see the end of it when I'm starting, if that makes sense. Like, when I'm working on it, I can't like see the whole thing. And so because I don't see those boundaries, it just is a lot more amorphous and sort of fuzzy to me. And I don't have that kind of clarity that makes me feel confident in what I'm making, I guess. So that's why I think making smaller things is a great way to start. And also they're just easier to finish. Of course, if that's not what your taste is, if you don't like those sort of smaller games, then that could also be hard. But I think there's interesting ways to even take very heavy experiences or different. Like, I think any experience can be condensed into a small package potentially. Yeah. Rory says, I feel like the pandemic has changed my buying habits from games that I know will be fun to games that I might love, but might also hate. I guess it's a way of injecting assignment jeopardy to board game acquisitions. Oh, I see. So you're more willing to sort of, yeah, you're like, you're willing to take a chance, but like when you win, you want to win big. Essentially, you want to. Yeah, I think that's a fair enough. That's like a really good point. And I think I'm becoming myself a little bit more open. So like, I think I never wanted to buy really big games or pay a lot of money for games. And I think I've realized that it's much better to pay a little bit more for a game, which will become, you know, like, for example, I did back the Grand Australia Hotel expansion. In fact, I backed for a whole new copy. So my current copy is in French, and I'm going to give it to Theo, actually. But and that was relatively expensive for I mean, it's with an expansion, but you know, it's still like €100 or something. But I realized that, you know, it is truly a favorite game that I will play, you know, tens of more times, you know. So it's for me, it's kind of worth the investment, I think. Yeah. Nicholas saying, I also enjoy dev type work, but I've never had the chance to do it in a formal enough context to be acknowledged and credit. Okay, well, I mean, but I think that's, you know, again, it's sort of stepping stones, right? It's you know, in some ways you do these things maybe without credit, but that lets you kind of hone your skills, and then that might lead to a real credited development role or something like that along the way. Just like, you know, you know, when you design lots of little things and you keep going, then you never know what sort of opportunities you might get in the future potentially, which is fair enough. As I said, I also think the games I was working on for a while are games that I wouldn't personally want to play. I started working on them before I became a heavy Euro gamer. Okay, yeah, well that can also help you. Sorry, not help. That could also happen. You know, your taste can just change, and then suddenly, well, it doesn't make sense to be working on these things potentially. And so many people have good ideas. Mine aren't any more worthy than someone else's. Well, I think you're being a little hard on yourself there, Zay. I truly believe that I'm actually always interested to see games from new designers, because I think even if they're operating in a similar space to a lot of other games, I really honestly believe that each person brings something new to the table in their designs. And I think, you know, it's maybe it's harder to see when it's your own game, and you can be a bit harder on it. I think we're always hardest on the things we're making ourselves, but as someone from the outside, I'd say actually I would love to see what you're making, because I really think that I love the freshness and newness that comes from new designers, even if they don't think what they're doing is particularly new. I think it is actually really needed in the hobby to keep getting new perspectives and new takes on existing genres or existing games. So yeah, I just encourage you to keep working and show things to people if you can. The job was trained to be sorry, the job I was training to have at QB was, I don't know what QB is, sorry, was as a game developer. That's my dream job. I love doing that. Okay, well, I mean, fingers crossed then that they can work towards that. Yeah, that would be, yeah, I mean, game developer can mean different things in different companies, I guess, because sometimes it's closer to a designer and sometimes it's close to what we think of as board game as development. So yeah. And the nice thing about being in a company is you get to maybe actually sample a lot of different pieces of the working environment or different parts of the process, essentially. They're saying I was working on an idea for a Yuri dice manipulation game about the fall of the Berlin Wall. Oh, wow. But got scared off because a lot of talk about cultural appropriation and who can make games about certain topics. Yeah, that's, I mean, it's a fair point. Yeah, I don't know. You are Sherman, though, right? Well, yeah, no, I get the point, though. I think that's, I mean, it's great to be aware of it, I think, too. I mean, I guess I would say is that there are always ways to collaborate with people. If for whatever reason you feel that you're not comfortable or whatever reason you don't think you're the person making this game, it doesn't mean you can't work with someone who maybe is part of that group or part of that culture. So if that's something that really interests you and for whatever reason you're not comfortable with pursuing it, then yeah, I would reach out and see, if anyone would be interested in working on a game like that with you, because that also can be a good way. Obviously I always say collaboration is a great thing, and it's not necessarily for okay, apologies. Apologies. But well, then yeah, I think reaching out and chatting to I think yeah, as Nicholas says, involves some Germans. But you've got a good point too. I think there are a lot of games. There are some game ideas about Australia, for example, that I would really like to make, or I would like to see in the board gaming sphere. I think there are a lot of there are not that many representations of Australia. How do I put this? I guess there's like quite a limited way of representing Australian board games currently, basically. And I'd love to see more variety in that. But I also, feel that I'm not the person who should be making those necessarily. I think we don't need another cis white man to be making games about Australia, I think, especially someone who hasn't lived there for some time. So I think, but then there are ways potentially doing, I hope to encourage other Australian designers or work with other Australian designers who are, well placed to tell those stories. Yeah, but it is, I mean, I guess the positive thing out of all of it is that we're all more aware of it in a way, and that we're at least considering these things. Yeah, I think that's hopefully the way forward, I guess. That are not wallaby exploitation. Yeah, they're not enough wallabies in. Yeah, I mean, I guess I think of the game like Uluru by Cosmos, for example. And I'm not an expert on Uluru and its significance for the Aboriginal people or the particular nation that lived around Uluru. And it's an incredibly sacred site. In fact, it's interesting enough that an even more sacred site is a site called Katajuda, which is not so far away from Uluru. It's in the same kind of area, but they're these very large boulders. Like each boulder is not as big as Uluru, but they're sort of collected together, and they're actually parts of Katajuda that you're not that only Aboriginals from certain tribes are allowed to visit, as far as I understand. Certainly not white folk can't visit because they're so sacred to the Aboriginal people. And I guess it would be great to tell the stories of the dreaming and through these sort of sites. But I'm not the one to tell those stories. But it would be great to see them out there, which would be really great. Thinking of all the critter games that take Australian animals. Are there kangaroos in New York Zoo, for example? I'm trying to remember now because I can't remember if I could see them or not. Feels like they would. Rory's got to shoot. Call at 10 a.m. and scuff down some Weetabix. Good luck. Thanks to see you, Rory. And yeah, we should catch up sometime soon as well and chat. But have a great day. But yeah, no, I mean, in any case, I think I mean, the last point of that is, I think, I think working on finding something to work on that you enjoy, and like if for example, like a dice manipulation game, I think even sending it somewhere else just to work on it and see if you enjoy it is a good place to start, and then you can you can still work on the games essentially. There are kangaroos in New York Zoo. Oh really? I think they're pink. Are they not? Are they flamingos? Because there are definitely flamingos in New York Zoo, right? Anyway, I mean, who knows? I'll have to check it out. Yes, Ubongo. Yes, I guess is another slightly culturally appropriated kind of style of game. Yeah, it's tricky, and it's always hard to actually. I've been having a bit of a back and forth with a publisher recently about a name of one of my games that's going to be released probably this year, and really wanting to essentially, like, the game started with a name that was kind of a real world name, but we used it kind of as a placeholder. We never really expect. I must admit, Brett and I are we're not very theme led, and we try to just come up with something that makes vague sense, but we always expect a publisher will change it. And we're quite surprised when this publisher actually was going to use our name as the game, and we were like, hold on, it doesn't really make any sense. This this theme is not there's no reason for it to be this theme, and it also, I don't think it's very suitable for the game. And it was just sort of interesting having that conversation with the publisher now about, what are the good characteristics for a name. And it's interesting. Naming games is I know this is sort of going away a little bit from the cultural appropriation part, but naming games is really difficult. You have to kind of go through all these hoops to get a good name. You want something that's different from obviously other games. You want something that's kind of Googleable, so it's not going to have other confusing hits. You want something that is obviously descriptive and matches what the game is. You want something that's probably easy to say and that's not too many words, because you want people to be able to quickly talk about it on social media or refer to it. There's all these things actually, and as more and more games get released, that gets harder and harder, which is interesting. Well, I mean, as we laugh about Kingdom Builder, I guess it's safe. It's a very safe name. And actually, for this particular game that I'm talking about, we've ended up on a pretty, I would say, safe name. It's not a very interesting name. And it is not so far from something like Kingdom Builder, to be honest. It's easy to say. No, stop. Everyone's going to try and get me to say these things. Well, we'll have to get Dave. That'll be also what we can say when David comes on. It's sort of funny, and it was the same for Monumental. Actually, I remember, when I pitched the game, it's like the Civilization deck builder game. Of course, it was never going to be called that, but it took us a long time to get Monumental. I'm really glad that we stumbled upon it actually, because it ticks all those boxes. It's short, it's easy to remember, it's different from any other games. It's easy to talk about. It fits the game, all these sort of things. But it's tough. Basically, there's a real art to it, and it's not an art that I'm necessarily a master at, I guess. Yes, but anywho, thank you very much, Designer Cardboard, for the follow. Sorry, I missed that. If you're still here, thank you very much for the follow. As I say always, I haven't got around to fixing up any sort of Streamlabs to do these things automatically. But anyway, we're coming up to the end of the Game Design Cuppa. Thank you all who've sort of hung out. I hope it's been interesting. I guess I don't come with any real topics for these things, and just sort of go where it takes me, or where chat takes me. So I hope it's interesting, or at least relaxing. A nice way to start your day. David's saying names and themes have struggled for me. The game I put in competitions last year got criticized for the title. I've had other solid designs get rejected on theme when they could easily be rethemed. Yes, it was interesting. Who was I talking to? Hi, Designer Cardboard. Yeah, no, thank you very much. Thanks so much for the follow. Hope it's interesting. I also, on my other stream, I'm not sure if you've caught my other streams, but on Mondays and Fridays in the afternoon European time, I do more sort of really focused design streams, I guess. That's very kind of you, Zaid. Very kind. But you can have multiple favorites. I don't think it's a problem. Yeah, it's interesting because Rita Modal, who was on the stream with Bez and myself and Alan yesterday, she said that she often puts in the rules of her games as a kind of like an appendix, like suggested other themes or like components that might not be in the game, but like if you were to publish it, this is what you would do with it. Because it is interesting. Some publishers, when they see a theme, they don't have like the imagination to think about what it could be, how they could change it. Other publishers will, and maybe that's something to try for competitions as well. I think I do agree. I think it's a little bit unfair because I think having the expectation that things are going to change. Of course, if you can have a great name, that helps. But I don't think you should be pinged for not having a good name. So I'm sorry to hear that. But having that little appendix talking about, you know, like these are some alternative names, or these are alternative themes, or here are some like component choices that you might be able to make. Like maybe these things could be plastic boats if you had the budget, or whatever. Yeah. Nicholas saying, I was thinking of Uluru when I said Ubongo regarding games allegedly about the dreaming. Oh, I see. Yes. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. Representation of Argentina are bad in games most of the time. Yeah. I actually, off the top of my head, I don't know any games that represent Argentina. I guess that maybe there are some war games, I would guess. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, are there many other sort of Argentinian designers other than you, Nicola? I don't actually know any, unfortunately. I love retheming games that turn Santa Maria into a gardening game. Yeah, I mean that's the other thing. Like, I wonder, you know, I think that's why you do see a little bit of proliferation of certain themes, like why we're seeing a lot of gardening games, or you know, because they are safe themes in a way, and I think and they're evocative of something peaceful and comfy, and I think people want that kind of comfort right now. But yeah, it makes indeed. I was tired of apologizing to Steve every time I taught it, but loved the game. That's true, and of course, there's, you know, it's a complicated world that we're in, right? You can love a game, but the designer or the theme could be problematic, or all these sort of things, which is tricky. Yes, Bass said, sounds unfair. Names are adaptable and themes are a figure of imagination. Yeah, well, I think it's a much better thing as a designer to be open to change in everything of your game, name, theme, mechanics, whatever. And it is a pity that it is a bit that people are. And I especially think in a design competition, where it should be encouraging people to make games and to explore new things, that it's a pity that that was sort of it was picked. So I won't do that for the Cardboard Edison, I don't think. I hope not. I mean, it'll be, as I said, it'll be an interesting thing to go through, and yeah. David said, my brain works deep, not wide. I try to use my Facebook page for inspiration and brainstorming when needed. Yeah, and but that's great. I think someone else I sort of think that works very deeply is someone like Tony Boydell. Like, when he gets a new game and a theme, he goes into it deep. Like, you know, you think about Snowdonia and just how much he's gone into trains, and it's really incredible. But you know, it's that can be a great strength, I think. But yes, but then it's just sometimes, you know, as we all know, when we pitch games, you're going to, you know, you're going to sometimes not, what's the word? You know, you're just not going to match with somebody, basically, like, you know, for whatever reason. Just so, yeah, I hope you have better luck with other people. Nicholas said the cover of Hacienda, allegedly about Argentina, is a hodgepodge of cliches of recent Kramer. Okay, I will check it out. I must say, yeah, I am quite ignorant, I must say, of South American cultures. I must say, but yeah. Oh, that's very kind. Thank you, thank you. Tony goes deep, but I gather Matt goes for Beatles and cigarette packets. Yeah, he's referring to Tony, who came onto in the chat yesterday and said I made games out of toilet paper and cigarettes. I think as a joke, but then Bez said that she had in fact made a game out of toilet paper, which which was unexpected. You know, pretty amazing. And Bez says, to be fair, I'm designer that starts with the theme and do the rest, so a rejection of theme would be harsh to take. But if the mechanics are unique, 3 themes doable. No, and I mean, yeah, I was being quite generalized when I was talking about that. I think being flexible generally as a designer is good. But if you are really led by theme and you've really put that all into the game, then I think that's an amazing thing, and I think that's a great sell to a game. I just think maybe it's harder to find the fit, right? Because the like more deep you've gone into a game, it's just harder to find the match. But when you find a match with a publisher, then actually probably will be even stronger because you've made a product that is really coherent and deep. and that's a really great thing. So, and that's it. But then again, creating unique mechanics is like finding the golden pot at the end of the road. Yeah, I think there was a point very early on in my design career that I was always trying to make like the new unique mechanic. I was so obsessed with Stefan Feld and how he kind of came up with new mechanics all the time. And I would keep doing it, and it would never lead to making a new game. And it was not a good way to try. So, yeah, I think I wouldn't worry about that. And being led by theme it can be fantastic. And in a way, I think is still there's so much space on the theme side and setting side to make really interesting games for that. Yeah. Anyway, thank you all for today. We're probably gonna wrap it up. Is Bez streaming? Bez is streaming, so we're probably going to hop over to Bez for a raid very soon. But thank you everyone for joining, and I hope, well, as always, I'm absolute pleasure and honoured that you join me and spend a little time together. And I hope you all have a really fantastic day, whatever you're doing. And I'll be back on Friday, my normal time, 4 p.m. GMT, 5 p.m. CET, for probably doing a bit more work on the Habitat Roll and Write, or whatever we're calling it. And I'll just have a quick check of chat before I go. I should stop smoking, that's true. Games are not too much about changing that as a thing, while the regions, yes, about South America, yeah, or Argentina in particular, while the regions are not actually underrepresented. Yeah, that's true. It's not, yeah, if you keep overusing the same cliches, it's not really helping, is it? And Rob, maybe this is a good way to end. Uniqueness is a mirage. Oh, I just poked myself in the eye. That was very smart. Uniqueness is a mirage. Interesting combinations, including theme and where it's at. Absolutely. Yeah, and it's there's all these. It's like each game is this wonderful, like unique little spot of all these things coming together. And I think there's lots of opportunities to innovate in different spheres. You don't have to innovate in all of them. So yeah, absolutely. Great. All right. Well, thank you all. Have a wonderful day. Let's hop over and say hi to Bez. And I'll see some of you on Friday. Great. Take care, everyone. Thank you all. Counting down. All right. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.